Hi, everybody, and welcome to 13 Now. I'm News 13's Amy Hoyt. We're coming to you from our News 13 newsroom, of course, on Harrison Avenue. And with today being Buddy Check, it's the time where we remind women to check for lumps in their breast or to get mammograms as we all work together to fight breast cancer and keep more women alive. We wanted people to be breast cancer survivors should they receive that diagnosis. Every month, as you know, we bring you a special guest who is willing to share their very personal story so that it might help you if you're diagnosed or maybe a loved one or a friend. And our special guest today is Audrey Ritch. She is the Lynn Haven South Branch Manager for Regions Bank, and it's good to have you with us today, Audrey.
Thank you, Amy. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Now tell us a little bit. We'll start with the diagnosis. You were diagnosed, you said, December of 2019?
Yes, ma'am. It was really funny. I was getting ready to go out of town. My father was sick, and he was not doing very well. So I told my girls, I'm like, I need to go get my mammogram. So I made an appointment real quick to go get it. And I got a call back that they need me to come in and do a second look at it.
Now, at this point, you look very young. So I'm wondering, were you 40 at the time?
Well,
at least,
I'm older than I look.
Oh, that's a good thing.
So I was 40.
That's a good thing.
I was
Okay.
47 when I was diagnosed, but I turned 48 that same month. So
Okay, so you were one of those really good people who remembers to get their mammograms.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you didn't find a lump.
No, I
Okay.
had nothing, no clue, nothing going on. Just went for my annual mammogram, and like I said, it was a kind of a rush deal because I was supposed to be going out of town, and they called me back in. And they did the ultrasound, and they said, oh, we think we found something. We're going to do a biopsy. And they put a marker in right then and there, and they did the biopsy right then and there. And I remember watching it on the monitor, and I just knew.
Yeah, while you were there?
Yeah, I just knew. But we wouldn't know anything until I got back because I was leaving to go out of town. So I said I won't be able to follow back up until I get back. And so it was when I got back, December 2nd, 2019.
Okay, let's back up just a little bit. When you go in for the mammogram, do they tell you that day right away? They see something?
No, you typically get a notice, everything's good or we need you to come back. So it was just really like a couple days that they told me they needed me to come back.
Now, at the time, you're living in Mobile, Alabama, and you are engaged to be married, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so how do you tell your fiancé?
Well, anybody who knows me knows I'm always optimistic. My glass is always, yeah. So I was just like, it's going to be nothing. We're going to get through this. It's not going to be a big deal. And then, of course, it was something. So I just told him, and he's like, we'll do whatever we got to do to get through this. We're going to make it through this.
Oh, there's your beautiful wedding picture. You're working at the time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And so how are you dealing with that? Like, how quick do they send you in for treatment?
So, as I said, my dad had been sick, and so he did pass. So I had to go back to Missouri to help my mother with the funeral arrangements and deal with that. So we actually put things off until the very end of December because of that and because of the holidays and everything. So we started, I got my port the first week in January and started my chemo treatment later that same week.
So you're doing chemo prior to them removing a lump?
Yes. So I went through 6 rounds of TCH chemo, and then after that, they go in and they remove the lump, and then I had to go through 20 rounds of radiation.
Wow.
And then they also had me doing 13 rounds of suppressive chemo.
Okay, but the breast wasn't removed.
No, just the lump.
And one thing we've learned by doing all these interviews, there are a lot of different types of breast cancer.
Yes.
It's not generic by any means. What type did you have?
So I had HER2 positive, and it's very aggressive. Like I said, I was very good about my mammograms. It had only been a year, and it was already stage 2. So
wow,
it was moving pretty quickly.
Oh, were you surprised? You
I
had to have
was.
been.
Yeah, I had no clue. I had no symptoms. I had no lumps that I could feel. There was
No family history?
I did on my dad's side, but it was my aunt and my great aunt. Nothing, my immediate family. So it was very shocking.
So the history begins now.
Yes.
But you have a son, correct? No daughters?
Yes.
Okay. So, men do have to check for that. It could be a possibility, but it's 1%. So it's mostly women, obviously. All right, so how are you feeling throughout the chemo and the surgery and then the radiation? So making you sick?
Well, I say I was really blessed. I continued to work. I had a great support system, and I continued to work through the chemo. I didn't get sick, really. I was just tired a lot. Right. But I had, my employer is great. We were going through COVID.
Oh, that's right. Double indemnity.
So right, when COVID really started taking off and things were getting bad, my regional and my area manager called me and said, look, we don't want you getting sick than you already are with your chemo.
Right.
So we want you to go home and work from home. So that was definitely a blessing, I feel. I still got up every morning, got my shower. I stayed in touch with my branch through FaceTime, and I was able to work from home. And then, of course, we had the PPP loans that we were working on, so I was able to do my share of helping with that. So it was definitely a blessing.
At what point are you losing your hair?
I lost my hair. I was looking back at the pictures. I lost my hair. I started losing my hair like within 2 weeks of my first treatment. And it was, like I mentioned to you, it was devastating to me because I always had really pretty long hair and it was thick. And, every time I'd take a shower and I'd be combing it out in the bathroom, the sink would be full of hair. Full of hair.
And so you voluntarily said, I'm shaving this off.
Yes. My good friend that was the manager, she told me, one of the advice she gave me was, go, before you shave it, before you lose it all, go look for wigs. And that way you can kind of match your hairstyle and your color. And so my fiance at the time, he, bless his heart, he was so good. He went with me and he helped me try on wigs and he tried to make it fun. And, we actually ended up getting a couple wigs and then we went and got my head shaved.
And you wore the wigs, I gather.
I did, yeah.
Some people change their mind.
Yeah, no, I did. You'll see in the pictures I had, some longer hair and then I had a short curly wig and my husband, he preferred I had a real long wig, but I didn't. That was not me.
Starts to get warm, too.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
So towards the end, I was like, I'm done. And I stopped wearing them. I remember one time we were at a restaurant, and it was so hot, and I was sweating, and I just looked at him, I said, I've got to take this wig off. And he's like, go ahead. Do you. And I just took it off, and I remember people like at the table next to me like, what is she doing?
Oh, you did it in a restaurant?
Yeah, it was so hot, I couldn't help it. I was just like, I got to get this thing off.
Now, your sense of humor got you through. I can tell just by meeting you that you have a good one.
Yeah, I tried. It was hard, but there was times, like I shared with you, I did like the 5 pros of chemotherapy, and a couple of those are you don't have to pay so much for expensive shampoo anymore. No Shave November lasts longer than November. I mean, there's a lot of things that I tried to find humor in to just keep me going.
And it helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the coworker who gave you advice. Was she a breast cancer survivor?
She was, and she had just, like I said, it was just a year for her. So she was a great resource for me because you just don't know. Like, I don't know. You don't know all the medical terms. You don't know, how the whole treatment is going to go. And so she just kind of walked me through that whole process and just told me, this is what they're going to ask about, or this is what, testing for the genes and those kind of things. She just gave me a lot of good advice and made me feel a lot more comfortable.
Now, you were mobile going through all of your original treatment and the surgery and all that diagnosis. Do they help with the family? Do they help your son and your fiance, now your husband, help you get through this?
So that was one of the things that there are a lot of resources out there, but I think sometimes people tend to forget about the caregivers because there's just so much going on and everybody's so worried about the patient, But there are resources. American Cancer Society, they have a lot of resources. There are also support groups. But I always tell everybody, don't forget the caregivers because, it's hard for them. My husband, like I said, was my fiance at the time, but, he told me, if I could take this away from you, I would. And I believe he would have.
Yeah.
He would have. But he did the next best thing by taking such great care of me. So.
And you put your wedding on hold, right?
Yes, we did, because we had planned on getting married in 2020. But I didn't want to get married when I was sick, and I didn't want people to think he was marrying me because I was sick. So we put it all on hold.
And you had written yourself a letter, and we don't have the whole letter, but tell us a little bit about why you did that and what you wrote about. Pardon me, lose my voice.
So that was just 4 days after my diagnosis, and you really start thinking about all the things that you're going through or what you might be going through. And one of the things was, like I said, with my fiance, I knew I was probably going to be sick, and I knew the drugs, were going to take effect on me with my hormones and all that. And I'm a energetic, fun-loving person, and he's used to that. And so that was one of the things I wrote about, how is he didn't sign up for this, and then my son, I was a single mother for so long, and he didn't have any other support group really except for me. And so I worried about him being able to take care of him, or if something did happen to me, how he would go on. And I wrote about that too. So.
And he's in his 20s, right?
Yes, he is. But he's still mama's boy.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Tell us where you go from here. Where do things stand almost 3 years later?
So I'm a year and a half in for every 6 months I go for my mammograms. So I'm a year and a half in. I go next week for my year and a half follow-up. I'm still on, of course, tamoxifen for the next 3 years, I guess now.
Is that a pill?
Yes, yeah. And then after that, they'll look and see, there's other pills that they'll put me on. But I'm doing good. I'm finally getting my energy back and feeling good. Finally got my hair back.
And it looks good.
Thank you.
It looks good, too. Well, you're very pretty and very energetic, and you have a sparkling personality. You are a good inspiration for other women who may or may have to go through this. What's your best advice for them?
First and foremost, make sure you get your mammograms. Don't put it off. I had several friends that after they found out about my diagnosis, they were like, I've been putting it off and I'm going now. So do that, because you don't always feel the lump. You don't get sick. You may not even know, and you don't want to wait too long and then have it be where it's not treatable, because so much cancer now is treatable if you catch it early enough. And then just find the humor. Try and find the humor. It's hard. It's very emotional what you go through, but you can beat it. You will beat it. You just have to have a positive attitude and just keep on keeping on.
And writing it down seems therapeutic.
Yes, for me it definitely was. Like I said, writing down the little pros and cons, or and writing about my experience, it has been very helpful. And again, don't forget your caregivers, because they're kind of the silent victim in all of this, kind of, because they're going through a lot of emotional distress too for you.
Advice for them? Is there something your husband did that was really great that you thought, man, I'm so glad he thought of that?
He would always, he just, like I said, after that, I was like, you sealed the deal. I'm definitely marrying you. He took such good care of me. And I just think, just being honest, we had an open line of communication. And sometimes that's hard, to communicate, but he'd tell me, you need to talk to me. You tell me what you're feeling, tell me what you're thinking. And then we would work through it.
Right. And that's a great support system. You have to have somebody to talk to. And now you're sharing your story to help others.
Yes, ma'am. If any, I've had friends, that reach out to me, and we talk about it. I don't have anybody, thank goodness, recently that is going through the same thing that I went through, but I'm always there for my customers and my friends and family if they, need help.
Of course. They can come to you
Yeah.
and ask questions. Right. And you're at the Regions Bank branch in Lynn Haven, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So now when people come in,
now
they're
they can come in,
say,
hey.
TV.
Well, and actually it was one of my customers who put me into, are you in touch with me?
That's right.
Yeah. So
That's right.
she had a very similar experience, and we were talking about it, and it was like, she was just like, this is awesome.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like to get out?
No, I really think that's all. I just think, like I said, just keep positive and just keep on moving forward. There are resources out there, your friends and family, and you can beat this, and don't let it get you down, and just keep on going.
All right. Audrey Ritch, it was so great to meet you, and we wish you the very best. In the future, stay healthy.
Thank you.
And thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks to everybody watching. Check for lumps in your breast. Get your mammogram, ladies. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.